earlier this
Sure, he'll
morning.
join.
Did he remember?
I wasn't talking to him about that, so and it was just an email exchange.
Okay.
Hang on here. Okay. Okay, there we are.
Where's
Okay.
Jim Cloutier? Jim Cloutier's not here either.
Right, I don't know. I haven't heard from him since last week.
You want me to call Steve?
I just texted him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll wait a couple minutes.
We're live now, Mr. Chairman.
I see us on YouTube, so oops. No, nobody here. None. I mean, still down 2. How many do we need for a quorum? 3 is enough, isn't it?
3. Steve says he's in it. Travis, do you see him out in some virtual waiting room?
I have Commissioner Cloutier in the waiting room. He's
Okay, I just texted Jim, but that's good. He's waiting.
not Commissioner.
Oh. Okay.
Jim was down the hallway eating his pizza.
There's somebody sitting in the dark, I can see, so.
Oh, that's Jim.
Okay. Well, YouTube says there's 3 watching now. One's me, one's Travis, and don't know who the third person is.
I bet we can guess.
Okay.
I'm sending Steve the link again.
Yeah, okay. We'll wait just a minute. If we know he's trying to get here, we'll
He
wait a
is.
couple minutes. Okay.
The traffic must be bad. We're coming in.
Well, the bridge was up.
Oh, the bridge was up. Oh, okay.
There's a big tie up on 295 North.
Is that why my internet's so
Construction out that
slow
way.
half the time? The bridge goes up.
Yeah.
Hmm. Travis, you have any update on Commissioner Gordon?
No sign of him yet in the waiting room, no.
Yeah, he's having a tough time. Let's see.
He can phone, I mean, I think he can phone in on one of the links that you sent him.
Oh, there he is.
You get it?
Yep, there he is.
There we go.
Here we go.
There's Steve.
Steve,
Connecting.
there we go.
Hey,
Hey, there you are. We thought the bridge was up or something.
yeah.
So
Well, I used what I had on my date here, and I was in a meeting, but all by myself.
okay. So you were at
Let's
last
have a
month's
meeting and a half.
You were at
sometime.
last month's meeting. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's call the meeting to order. I think we're all up and running, and is everybody here that needs to be here?
Yes.
I think so. Okay, then I'll call this meeting to order. This is the Monday, May 11, 2020 meeting of the Cumberland County, Maine Board of Commissioners. So I'll call the meeting to order. The first item of business is I would accept a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of April 13.
So moved.
Second,
I see moved by Commissioner Witonis, and I think that was Jim Cloutier, Commissioner Cloutier, who seconded. And I think I'm going to delegate somebody to call the roll, please.
I got it.
Okay,
Witonis,
Yes.
Gordon,
Here,
Coward,
yes,
Cloutier,
yes,
Jameson.
Yes.
okay, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, the agenda says we have no informational reports this month. Is that still the case, Jim? Gailey?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. And then, Mr. Kennedy, do we have any questions or comments from the public?
We do not.
Okay, no questions or comments from the public. I would go on to the next item of business is the consent agenda. This is item 20-036, approval of the extension of the Sheriff's Office patrol contract with the town of Naples. And item number 20-037, approval of the extension of the Sheriff's Office patrol contract for the town of Fry Island. Can I have a motion to approve that?
Mr. Chair,
so
Yes,
can I ask the sheriff a question on 20-036?
yes, please.
Kevin, do we know if that, if the other part of that contract is still in the school budget at Lake Region? And if they take it out of the budget, will that affect this contract with Naples?
No, in actuality, the school resource contract was over and above.
Oh,
If you
okay.
recall, in 2019, there was a new position that was approved to start in July of 2019. And that was going to provide relief for law enforcement.
Yeah.
We also had some vacancies. We had 2 new contract positions, and we had this position
Okay.
that came about at the same time. So we didn't fill that position in 2019. It was completely funded in the budget of 2020.
Mhm.
And what I had suggested is, because we had to tell Naples no in 2019, that we never expected that they would want a 3-month contract.
Yeah.
I suggested that funding this new position that was actually half approved in 2019 would create the county picking up 75% of that position, with the other 25% in the summertime, that person would go to Naples.
Yeah,
At that time, the SRO was kind of being kicked around. It really didn't become reality until the beginning of 2020. My understanding is that it's still a go in 2020.
okay, thank you. Yep. That was
Okay,
the only
any-
question I have. Yep, that's it.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the
So
consent
moved.
agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
I got Commissioner Jameson moved and Commissioner Gordon seconded. Mr. Gailey, can you call the roll, please? Call the,
Latonis,
Yes,
Cloutier,
yes,
Gordon,
Here.
Howard,
yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
5-0.
Okay, I think that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next is item number 20-038, acceptance of the Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan and allocation of home funding, second reading. Manager Gailey, I'll turn this over to you.
Thank you. As you said, Chairman, this is the second reading of the annual action plan. This plan is due this week down at HUD Manchester for review. Kristen and Sandy have been working on this diligently over the last couple of months in getting it ready for your review. And so Kristen's on the video call with us, and I will pass it on to her to add any further input over and above what you heard from her last month. Again, this is second reading and final action. And if all goes well tonight, Kristen will be bundling up this plan and send it to New Hampshire tomorrow. So Kristen, you have anything to add?
Nope, that's about it. We just have to have the second reading and a public hearing about it. It's been posted on the county CDBG page. And I have not received any public comment. And I don't believe Travis has received any public comment for tonight's meeting as well. So I will update our action plan with that part in it, and we'll get it sent off to HUD for approval.
Okay,
Tom, I have a
just,
question for
yes,
Kristen.
please, go ahead.
Kristen, this shifting gears a little bit, but under the CARES Act, was today the deadline for applications, and did we receive many under the new funding?
Yes, so we will actually have a commissioners meeting next week on the CDBG CV funds. What HUD has asked us to do is to do an amendment to actually last year's plan, since that one was already approved. And that only requires a one reading, whereas our normal process requires two readings. And this is our second of the two readings. So next week, we'll look at those. The applications were due by 4 p.m. today, and we've received 15 applications so far. And we have all of the categories that we were looking for covered. I haven't had a chance to really delve into them yet and look at their budgets and see how it all lines up. But I'm satisfied so far with what we've received.
And what was, do we know the exact amount of funds that we received?
$920,000 or $920,165.
That's pretty exact. Thank you.
There is a possibility that we'll be receiving more funds through the second and third wave of the CARES Act funding. We just have not heard anything yet as to how much we'll be getting. The state will delegate part of that, and HUD will delegate the third wave.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Kristen, I have a question. The CARES Act money, where is that being allocated to?
So it's actually going to be part of our FY19 CDBG program. The funds will be kept separate than our regular program funds. I think HUD is still kind of working out the details there. We're actually a bit further along than most other entitlements within the country. So I'm kind of happy about how fast we've been able to move this process along and get the funds out the door. But they'll be kept separate, but they're technically part of last year's allocation.
So are they going to, is this additional funds on top of what's already been there? And is it going to the same recipients, or is this is this a new allocation process?
It's a new allocation process. We released a CDBG CV. That's what HUD's calling it, CDBG coronavirus application on April 24th. And we gave a little over 2 weeks, 2 weeks and a weekend to turn in those applications. In the application, we specified that we were really interested in county-wide projects. Obviously, the county not including Portland and Brunswick, but the Cumberland County entitlement jurisdiction. And we wanted applications for food assistance, rental and mortgage assistance, and business assistance were the main categories that we were looking at. What we did was take a look at what was being funded in the CARES Act and where the gaps were, and tried to make sure that our CDBG funds were kind of filling those gaps.
Okay, I see Commissioner Gordon has a question.
Yeah, you said something that piqued my interest here. Are these funds awarded to the county, or are they awarded to the CDBG area?
They're awarded to, we're allocated the funds through our regular entitlement process. So HUD used the same formula that they do to give us our annual allocation for the first wave of funding. So that's the 920,000. With that, we still have to follow some type of process for distributing those funds. And what HUD had recommended was following your regular CDBG process, because that's what they've already approved. And then they allowed us to submit waivers to kind of do a expedited version of that. So our normal CDBG process application is released in the fall, and it takes until now for the funds to get approved. And what we did was pretty much speed it all up and do it in a month and a half.
That's not my question. My question is it for the county or is it for the CDBG area?
It's for the CDBG area. So the city of Portland will have their own funds, and Brunswick is participating in the state's program.
It's additional CDBG dollars.
Right.
Well, I guess, okay, maybe we need to have another discussion about it, because I don't think HUD and the rest of them are that sophisticated to understand that there are separate areas in a specific county.
So in our HUD entitlement jurisdiction, we have the 25 towns that have chosen to participate in our Cumberland County entitlement jurisdiction. And that's all of Cumberland County except for Portland and Brunswick. And in our application, we specify that we want the activities the same way that we do with our regular application for just our CDBG areas within the county.
So how does Portland and Brunswick participate?
So the same way that HUD gives us a formula allocation of how many CDBG dollars we'll be receiving, they also got a formula allocation. So the city of Portland received 1.1 million in CDBG CV funds, and then they got an additional 600,000 in ESG, which is emergency shelter funds, to help that program as well. And so far, we have not received any additional home funds.
Enough. I'm confused, but we don't need to take up the time.
Okay. Steve, we'll have a workshop on this sometime when we start doing that again. So that I think that would be an educational process for everybody on this.
Well, Mr. Chairman, can I jump in quickly on one thing?
Sure.
You all must would have received an email from me within the last week and a half, asking you to save the date for May 20th at 5:30. And that is because as Kristen is working through these applications that she has received this afternoon, she will then be kicking those over to the members of the Municipal Oversight Committee for further review and determination of allocation of what funds, what applications get what funds. That all needs to have your eyes on it and approval. And as Kristen was talking, that she will be amending her 2019 program year to incorporate the, so this will be brought up again in a mere week and a half. We will be back before you, probably an agenda that might have one, if not two items on it, with the CDBG CV item being the biggest heavy of that night,
And what date is that?
May 20th.
Yeah, I see it on my calendar. So
Calendar, yeah.
I did get your email, Jim.
I
Thank
don't
you.
think it's either a Wednesday or a Thursday night. I can't remember.
Wednesday.
Wednesday night, yeah.
Okay.
I'll add that to all my other Zoom meetings for Wednesdays.
Perfect.
Okay, any further discussion about this item? And Jim, do we need a vote to accept this?
We do.
A second reading, so I'll
Yes.
entertain a motion.
So moved.
I would,
Well, I got Steve
adopt it.
Gordon, I saw first, and I think Jim Cloutier was second with a second. Jim Gailey, could you call the roll, please?
Yep. Witonis,
Yes.
Gordon,
Here.
Jameson,
yes.
Cloutier,
yes,
Howard,
Yes,
5-0, sir.
thank you very much. All right.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen.
Yes, thank you, and good job, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Okay, next is item number 20-039, amending county commissioner bylaws, first reading. And Jim, can you set that out for us, please?
Sure. I think we've had a lot of conversations since December on the idea or initiative for us to move from a calendar year budget to a fiscal year budget, fiscal year being a July to June budget. As you all know, we've gone through notifying the towns, and back in February and March, the commissioners modified your bylaws to change the January to December to the July to June of 2000, starting in 2021. Well, and we talked about this last month, just briefly. I am bringing forth the idea that we postpone this initiative 1 year. The reason I asked to postpone is that as we roll this out next year, there is a impact to the communities as we were asking them to, in a sense, pay a 12-month budget warrant and a portion or all of a 6-month budget warrant. So it's kind of a little bit of impact there. Some communities would do all up front, as other communities take the full 5 years prorated. And so it runs the gamut. However, I think it's safe to say that with what we have experienced over the last 2 months and seen how the economy has reacted, we've also heard on how the towns and cities within Cumberland County are feeling the pinch and the impact. I think, and I would recommend that maybe July 1st, 2021 is not the right time for us to roll this transitioning period out. And through the attached change to the bylaws, I have scratched out the July 2021 and have proposed to you moving that out to July 2022 to June 30th, 2023 for our first fiscal year. I know that I had sent out some previous language, kind of hitting the pause button, but I think talking with some of you, you felt as though maybe just kicking it out 1 year and putting it in writing like that would be the most appropriate way to handle this. And thus far, that's why I brought forward the recommendation of just changing the dates versus rewriting a lot of the language within the bylaws. Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, discussion or questions? Seeing none, can I have a motion?
move passage,
I'll
Second,
second.
Moved by Commissioner Cloutier. I think that was Commissioner Witonis was the second.
Yes.
Mr. Gailey, can you call the roll, please?
Sure. And this is first reading. We'll have to do this again in June. So for second reading, or actually May 20th, we could do second reading.
That would be great.
Watonis,
Yes.
Gordon,
Here, yes.
Cloutier, Jameson,
Yes.
Coward,
Yes.
and I don't think I heard Cloutier.
That's because he's muted.
Muted.
I can see your lips.
Unmute yourself, Jim.
I like him that way during meetings.
You notice things are
Supposed to
going
be-
quick.
You're supposed to,
All right, I think I heard Jim say yes.
Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, well, I'm going to count that as unanimous vote unless I get a challenge to that ruling. So, okay, thank you very much, and maybe we'll revisit this next week. And then the next item is 20-040, donation of cross insurance arena chiller to Mid-Coast Youth Hockey Association.
Yes.
Jim, thank you. You could,
As the commissioners are aware, the commissioners have seen the capital projects come from the Cross Insurance Arena. This was a project that was needed to be fast-tracked to some extent because the brine chiller at the Cross Insurance Arena, and let me define what a brine chiller is. From my understanding, it's pretty much an air conditioner flips upside down. And instead of producing cold air, it provides cold water. And the cold water then gets pumped into the concrete floor of the ice rink and freezes the water that we flood the ice rink with. So the chiller has been on its way out for a year or two now. We've had some significant issues. Staff over at the Cross Insurance Arena have come to be very good at jump starting this chiller. Unfortunately, it seems like the chiller quits out on us during Maine Mariner games or during the Circus Soleil performance last August. And when the chiller quits out, the ice starts melting and getting soft. And really one of the ways that we find out that the chiller has quit on us is that the Zamboni will go out and resurface the ice and it won't freeze up again. And so staff scramble, and there have been a few games that have been delayed a little bit from intermission so that the ice can firm up. I was at the Circus Soleil last August where it was delayed a little bit from an intermission because they needed to firm the ice up a little bit. We needed to act on this, and so we moved forward this winter, got a new in storage. The chiller was there just in case we needed to install it quickly. We are now at the point that we don't have ice in the building anymore. We are looking to install that chiller without being under pressure, and that will probably happen sometime in June. But in the meantime, a group from Mid-Coast Youth Hockey Association out of the Thompson, Brunswick area has heard that we are changing out a chiller. And they're in the process of building their own ice rink for their youth program up in that area. And they have asked us for the possibility of donating the old unit to their association so that they can offset the large cost of buying a chiller on their own. The chiller is at its end of life expectancy. It's going to need to be fully refurbished. And we were planning, if the association did not come to us, we were planning just to recycle the metal and do away with it. In talking with the association, they're very much interested. They've looked at it and they feel as though through allocation of some of their fundraising money, they can rehabilitate the unit to meet their needs. So we brought this forward to the trustees last month. The trustees talked about whether there was a willingness of any of the trustees that wanted to sell the unit to the association for a minimal cost or whether to donate it. And in the end, the trustees voted unanimously to donate the unit. But they did put the condition on that the unit would need to be hauled off the minute that it came off the roof of the Cross Insurance Arena, so that we would not be holding on to it for any length of time and needing to store it. So the association is in need of getting a flatbed there when the unit comes off the building and hauling it away, if all is appropriate to the commissioners, that is. So this evening, I'm bringing forth the request for your consideration to donate this Brian Chiller unit to the Midcoast Youth Hockey Association on the condition that they haul it off the day it comes off the roof of the Cross Insurance Arena. So long story for a quick action, but thanks for listening.
Yes, questions or comments from the commissioners, please? Yes, Commissioner Jameson.
Tom, I would move that we do it, that we proceed and donate the chiller to the Thompson Brunswick Youth Hockey Association. Sue and I both attended that meeting, and trustees were definitely, as Jim indicated, strongly in support of it. So I would move passage.
I'll second that.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Watonis. Any further discussion about this?
Yeah, Tom, the
Yes.
question I have is do they know if they have somebody that'll haul it yet? And I don't expect you to kind of redundant question, because there are a couple of contractors up in that area. If they haven't had a response, that I think should be very, very happy to give them a hand.
In my conversations with the individual, they are fully aware they need to haul it, and they've kind of alluded to just tell us when and we'll get it out of there.
Okay, fine.
I haven't asked any further questions on who's doing it.
Oh, good.
Well,
Goodbye.
my feeling about it is we're lucky they're not asking us to pay them to take it. So, okay, let's vote quick then. Okay, any further comments? Jim Gailey, could you call the roll, please?
Matonis,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes,
Cloutier,
he's muted again.
Coward.
Yes.
Jim, was that a yes? Thumbs up? Okay.
Okay, that appears to be unanimous, and good luck to him, I think. And I'm
Thank
happy.
you all.
I like your note at the end of your position paper, Jim, that you point out that this is something that benefits the county, because this is it's one county agency giving it to another county-based agency that'll, I hope they are not biting off more than they can chew, but it'd be certainly a wonderful asset to the community up that way. So I'm very happy to do this. Okay. All right, next, comments from the county manager.
I have a few this evening.
Thank you for those comments.
I've talked about the May 20th 5:30 meeting. An update on the Cross Insurance Alternative Care Site. Even though I think you've all seen the numbers that Travis have passed down on a daily basis, we are far from coming close to capacity at the hospitals. But we have continued to work towards getting everything planned for the ACS going at the Cross Insurance Arena. Last Friday, we buttoned up the contract between Maine Medical Center and the county. We sent that contract up to FEMA for their review and comment at this point. On top of that, Melanie and I have worked out a contract between Spectra and the county, and that contract is about 95% done, and I foresee that contract going up to FEMA for their review probably within the next 72 hours. So a good planning effort over the last month. Thank God we didn't have to do it on the 1 week turnaround that we thought we we're going to have to do it in because it was quite a heavy lift, but a lot of work has been done now that will save us time down the road if we ever get to this point again. One thing I will let the commissioners know that as we continue to work through the COVID in the office environment, we are now talking about what do departments look like when we eventually open up here. And I will say that I'm still being a little cautious as Cumberland County is not out of the water just yet. However, we are getting ourselves prepared to head down that road. And one of those areas that we're looking at and what we're implementing, the purchase of plexiglass. I think many of you have seen your trips to the grocery store or to other stores that are open. They now have plexiglass in front of the cashiers or tellers. That we're doing in many of the departments. The first was down at the LEC. We did a big plexiglass enclosure on the civil side of the front lobby. We have now replicated that effort that we did down at the LEC to the probate office, to the registry of deeds. So really any of those forward-facing public interaction counters that we have in the county departments, we are putting those plexiglass dividers just to add that layer of separation between staff and the general public. So I just wanted to let you know that that was an effort that was underway. And next time you're in the buildings, don't be surprised when you see it in front of the counters. The state of Maine last week has issued a requirement that all individuals coming into the state courts or the things need to wear masks or face coverings. This is impacting our building as well. As you know, that there's a pretty definitive line between county operations on one side of the building and court operations on the other. However, we both share a common lobby that we enter the building in. And the courts are telling us even county employees need to wear masks in that lobby, even though we are not making it mandatory for county employees just yet to wear masks at their offices or desks. We're not making it mandatory on the sheer fact that we have spaced out individuals in the departments. We have also put people who are in tight settings on rotating schedules so that no one's on top of each other. And those staff members that do interact with the court side of the house, primarily the facilities department and the DA's office, they have been put on notice that they will have to wear some kind of face covering when they do enter into the state court side of the building. So just want to give you the heads up on that. I know that that won't affect us at this point because we're still on video and doing our meetings that way. However, who knows how long this will take, and at some point we may all be opening up the building, but finding ourselves wearing some kind of face screen or mask while we move throughout the courthouse building. Last meeting, the commissioners asked that I look at the number of food banks within the county and contribute. At one point, it was $300 or $500. We kind of split the difference at $400 because we found that the original 21 food banks that I reported out on back last month turned into about 28 food banks. And so we went with a $400 value to each food bank that submitted their notice of intent. And notice of intent was pretty much an application that Travis created that asked for their information so that we would have it for finance in order to cut a check. Today, we have sent out $400 to 26 food banks throughout the county, 26 out of the 28 that we had on the list. So I think that was a success, and many thank you letters in return. So the generous donation did not go unrecognized by those who received it. Lastly, I've been able to participate in the round 1 and round 2 processes at the United Way. The United Way has had a number of businesses contribute funds, roughly about $250,000 for round 1 and about the same for round 2. And we have had the task of going through some very good applications and scoring those applications on the selected criteria. It's been a process that's been eye-opening and enjoyable, and really kind of giving you a sense of what the real impact out there is. You know, a lot of food banks, a lot of low to moderate income housing complexes, and also agencies that service those low to moderate income individuals. So a lot of good to spread around from the United Way over the last couple of weeks. They're doing a great job and lining ourselves up to a round 3 come the end of this month. So just wanted to pass that along. That will really, between the United Way giving to agencies and the work that Kristen and her staff are doing with the CDBG Act funds, there has been a significant infusion of cash going into nonprofits in Cumberland County over the last 30 to 45 days, which is all great. And it's all been fast turned around money, which is even better, so that it's getting used quick. So that concludes my communications. Thanks for listening.
All right. Yes, Steve Gordon.
Jim, for a workshop, and I say this so that the public can hear it, is that could we add an agenda to the workshop whereby we talk about itemizing or creating a list of those changes that have occurred because of this virus to our processes, and those that we wish to remain because they were caused by it, in the cause things to be more efficient, cause less harm to the public, etc., or speeded things up. I just think it's an appropriate time to begin to develop that, so that we develop the expectation when people begin to say, okay, we're going back, that they don't expect that everything's going to go back to as it was.
So we'll be on video conferencing the rest of the time?
I think it would be useful to have it in our back pocket. I mean, we've occasionally had times where we need to act quickly and we can't all get together, or we can't get potentially can't get a quorum or something. So I think that certainly is something we need to look into. I think Steve had mentioned this idea to me the other day. I think it's an excellent thing to have a workshop sometime in the near future. I'm not sure about next week. I think we're already starting to load that meeting up, but certainly, Jim Gailey and I can talk about scheduling on that. I think that'd be a great topic to have a kind of a bird's eye view on.
How about the first meeting in June? That will allow me to poll the departments and hear back from them, and then we can write up something to present to you.
Yeah, that would be good.
And I have one other comment. Jim made mention of the food banks. The thing I think, because I've got some personal involvement with it, that I realize is the food banks are now turning to the local farmers to get supplies, which I think is just wonderful, because many of them have been used by the restaurants that are not functioning. So they're scrambling in ways to do things. And I got to give my hat off to these guys, and women. They have changed their mantra of how they serve and what they will offer and what they charge to benefit the public and those that are going without. It's just wonderful. You never know. You discover things that you never understood. One of them is we have a religious group that doesn't eat meat. but they'll take the protein of eggs, for example. And that swap really causes a whole bunch of issues. But it's wonderful. As I say, my hat's off to them, and thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Any other comments about the manager's announcements? Alex Kimball, do you want to give us your thoughts about how the county's doing financially?
Yeah. Well, I'll start off with something more positive than that.
Okay.
Gordon's point on the changes. One thing that has been for finance, and I think HR as well, has been moving to a more digital method of getting things done. And within finance, we really sort of pushed the fast forward button on a whole bunch of that stuff in order to keep running. And it went surprisingly smoothly. A lot of people in a lot of the different departments, Sheriff's Department in particular, really stepped up nicely. So, I'd look forward to talking about that because there have been some real successes, things running smoothly. Our payroll person literally went home 2 months ago and really hasn't left since. And I don't think anyone would necessarily know that that's occurred. But it was able to stay going smoothly. On from that to finances. At this point in time, things haven't necessarily changed yet. Jim and I are sort of watching everything as much as we can. The issue for us within the county is the overwhelming majority of our funds don't come till later in the year. We get the money from the state in the summer, and then we get our taxes from the municipalities in the fall. We have not heard yet that we're going to lose any of those things, but it's certainly scary out there. And as a result, we're really just pinching every penny in hope to get through that sort of crunch come summertime. But thus far, I don't have any sky is falling to report yet. It's just, for obvious reasons, we're all watching the clouds quite carefully. So I don't have anything one way or the other to report there. The other piece I'd want to mention, though, because I've certainly seen this out there, the CARES Act, there is no direct funding to the counties from there. The state of Maine received funding. There is nothing as of yet suggesting that the county is going to directly get any of that other than a smaller JAG-related grant that might be out there. The Family First Act, only a very small portion of county employees would apply to the Family First Act. And those that do apply don't actually get any real reimbursement from it. There is a slight tax break that we get on Social Security, but that's 6% of a portion of wages. It's just not anything that really moves the needle. So on that particular front, the county is sort of out on its own. Now, the last piece I want to talk about, though, is one where it does look like we will receive funding, and that's FEMA. We are set up in the portal. We are ready to put in the application for reimbursement from FEMA at whatever point in time we feel like we have a good handle on our overall expenses. As a result, right now, we're still in the gathering phase. The things that we'll get reimbursed for are expenses for personal protective equipment, as long as it's something that we weren't going to be buying otherwise. Obviously, we don't really buy personal protective equipment very much otherwise, so that all counts. Cleaning services that are, again, above and beyond and very much COVID related, we'll be reimbursed for. The jail has done a particularly good job of splitting those things out. The jail typically spends quite a bit of money every year on cleaning expenses and cleaning supplies anyways, and they've kept the two separate. So there's that. There's the building improvements. There's the plexiglass. That'll be reimbursed. There's those large scale purchases of the PPE, like I mentioned. And those are really the costs. I'm just checking to make sure I haven't missed anything that we'll get reimbursed for. Part of the reason why that number hasn't turned into anything huge yet is a lot of this PPE that we've placed on order, we simply haven't received yet. So I can't get a reimbursement for a bill that we haven't actually gotten for gear that we're not guaranteed we're going to get. So we're letting this build up. There's a certain magic number that I'm sort of keeping an eye on, and that's $131,200. If we get to that amount, we have to fill out a different set of forms. So I'm waiting to see what's going to occur there. That's our big funding reimbursement. However, it's also worth mentioning all of that reimbursement is going to be for money that we spent in excess of what we would normally spend. So that's going to come out to essentially a wash there. And that's sort of the existing status. It doesn't look like we're necessarily going to have a long wait for the reimbursement. It's just we have to wait before we can actually put in for it. And that's what I've got.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Alex? Okay, seeing none. Sheriff, would you care to give us an update on your department?
Sure. So we're holding our own, again, thankfully. No outbreaks of COVID in the jail. We've tested 15 people in the last 2 months. I'd like to say that that's getting easier and quicker, but it's not. Thankfully, we haven't had any employees go down with the virus. We have probably 4 or 5 that are still quarantining or staying away from their family as a cautionary type of move at St. Joseph's College. The numbers are creeping up. So last week we ended up opening up a pod and staffing it with the people that would normally staff the Community Corrections Center, so that we have a place to quarantine people. Initially it was in the A pod, but we started having some mental health related issues we needed that for. So we've opened that up. Starting to see the numbers creep up a little bit. Getting a lot of inquiries about, especially in the Lakes region area, about what's going to go on in the summer. We have a lot of campgrounds up there, and the governor's order is that campgrounds won't open up to Maine residents until June. They'll open up to out-of-staters in July. Hopefully we won't have any issues, but we're trying to pass along some education to the campgrounds. Getting a lot of inquiries about how we're enforcing the 14-day quarantine, which the answer is we can't. It's almost impossible. We don't see the people come into the state of Maine, and we cannot account for all 14 days. So we just ask the people to quarantine on their own. And that's about it. Like I said, we've been fortunate, like I told the media last week, as aggressive as we've been to try to keep it out of the jail, we've also been very lucky, and I hope our luck doesn't run out. That's it.
Okay, Sheriff, thank you so much. Questions
you.
for the sheriff?
Just had a quick
Seeing-
question.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Kevin, what's your census now? You said it was up a little bit.
About 276. I mean, it's up about 10 or 12. I still believe that the law enforcement agencies are doing the best they can do to summons versus arrest. But, there's certain areas of the county and certain areas of the city of Portland that, it's not a deterrent to ask somebody to move along. It's definitely not a deterrent to give them a summons. And I would say even arresting some people is not a deterrent either. So we've tried to hit the happy medium and the balance. And I really feel that the law enforcement is doing absolutely what they have to do, given the circumstances they're in, to be responsible and not bring anyone into the jail that doesn't really need to be in there.
Thanks to your
Okay.
staff.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, Steve Gordon, did you have?
Yeah, I guess hearing that, I get a sense that Sheriff, is this something we ought to address? Is there an interim step here between what was being done at the height of this and what could be done and the people that are showing up? It's a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer it.
Well, no, I don't mind answering. One of the issues is Bayside in Portland. About a month ago, I was invited and my command staff participated with the Portland Police Department and Jonathan Sarbeck to really brainstorm on what was going on there. I can tell you, in listening to the officers assigned down there, they are trying to not make arrests and to take care of the issue. You know, I think that what this has brought out is that folks, when they're working, don't know what's going on in their neighborhood. Now they're home, seeing what's going on. It's doubly worse. The other thing is, you know, I participated with Casco the other day in their selectmen's meeting. And one of the things that I sent out to all of the town managers are, the calls for service are not up, but domestic violences, mental health calls, suicide-related threats, et cetera, are up. And, you know, this last weekend, on Sunday morning, the morning pass down, the law enforcement guys went to about 5 mental health cases. And they're basically giving us the highlights of what happened. And they were people that just ran the gamut of mental health related cases. The domestic violences, we're obviously going to arrest if it's necessary, because that's a violent crime. So I would say really it's up a tick, but so isn't people's emotions and what they're experiencing. So, you know, keep in mind, still about 80 of those folks are revenue inmates that, you know, we have no control over anyway. So the number's down. But, you know, I've laid the expectation with my staff and people that ask that we're a closed community, much like a nursing home. And there are going to be 2 ways it gets in. Once through our employees, but we also have, you know, the people that are coming through that are getting arrested. And we can be aggressive, but I will stand here and tell you today, I think we've done a great job, but we've been very, very lucky. And I hope our luck doesn't run out.
Yeah, luck favors the well-prepared, I would say. So I think don't underplay your part in this, Sheriff. But any other comments for the Sheriff? Okay, thank you. Let's go to County Commissioners. Commissioner Witonis, your turn.
No, I really don't have a whole lot to say, except I like to thank everybody, you know, for all the work that they're doing. I know this is a hard time and it's not always easy. You know, we're doing these kind of meetings and all of that. And I will say I am on the conference calls with the sheriff's office every Monday, and you know they're all doing a great job. You know, like what Kevin says, it's not always easy, but you know they've done a great job down there. They've kept it out of the jail, and that's what the biggest thing. So my hats off to all of you, you know, for the work that you're doing, and keep it up. So that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Jameson.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. I would echo Sue's comments and extend my gratitude to Sheriff Joyce, his entire staff, our entire executive team, Jim Gailey, Alex Kimball, Travis Kennedy, and everyone that's working in difficult situations under difficult pressure and stress to do a remarkable job continuing to do the work of county government. I think we heard from Kristen tonight, one of our signature programs, CDBG, is not only going forward as it has these past 11 years, but we have additional money that we have 15 applicants for that additional $920,000. So that's a great benefit that we're extending to our municipal members, an opportunity. And I would just say, all you citizens out there, be healthy and safe. Let's stick with the program, and we will turn the corner on this thing and beat it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cloutier, do you have any comments for us? You have to unmute yourself.
Yes. Did you get all right? Is anybody else listening to somebody playing the piano? I don't know if I can. Anyway,
I thought that was you. I was going to compliment you on your musicianship.
Oh, I'm a trombone player, as you know. No, I'm not a player at all. I third the comments from Commissioner Witonis for everybody at the jail. I had talked to the sheriff a few weeks ago about the possibility of infection difficulty down there and all the steps that were being taken. And it's a challenge, and there is an element of luck there. And but there's also no question that there's a lot of diligence being applied, and so far, so good. Same is true, frankly, with our executive team, and I echo those comments as well. I wish I could say I thought it was all going to wrap up soon, but my impression is that we're going to be rowing this boat for a long time from here. So that's a little discouraging to think about sometime. Other than that, no, I've had some, I think the other commissioners know I've had some comments. We all received some comments about the going forward opportunities and the need to try to reopen the economy. Just because the governor says so, I don't think the economy is likely to reopen as long as citizens are seeing the evening news. So I think we're in for a tough haul, and we'll have our chance to try to figure out how the money's going to work later. But in the meantime, I'm glad everybody's staying safe.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Commissioner Gordon.
I really appreciate what Jim has said, because I'm on that line of thinking. I'm just amazed at the general public, and which includes our staff and us and others, that are really paying attention. That this is something that you just can't dismiss, and you need to move forward. My concern, as Jim has brought forth, is that this issue is not going away. My background is engineering, and for those out there in the public that are listening to this, they know what a wave and a surge function is, and the next surge is going to be a tough issue. So I'm totally in line with what Jim is saying. If you listen to the professionals, and I'm a layman, but I'm only going to repeat what I've heard them say, is that until 70% of the population either has this virus or is mitigated in some way, it isn't going to go away. So we've got to be diligent, and we should encourage our population to do that. I don't wish this on anybody. I just can't imagine having a child or having a parent or having even whatever leave because of this epidemic. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Gordon. I'm going to sign on to everything that's been said about our county staff. I think we're doing a really marvelous job, and with as far as I can tell, good humor and fortitude. And it's been steps we've taken have been very effective to keep ourselves all safe and to keep the public safe. So I think we're doing a wonderful job at that. I am impressed by the response of the public. I know there are some loud but few voices out there pushing the governor and pushing some other bodies to open up the economy faster than I think is probably warranted. And I think the vast majority of people understand that this is a matter of survival for a lot of people, and that we need to keep ourselves safe and keep ourselves away from other people for a while. It is difficult. It is hard, and I know firsthand the sort of emotional and psychological toll this can take. But once again, I'm impressed. I think the vast majority of people are trying to cooperate and do what they need to do. I line up at the grocery store when I go, stand 6 feet apart, wait till there's fewer than 50 people in the shop, and then in I go, and I've never seen anybody pushing in line or anything. It's people have been very courteous and calm, and I think that's the attitude that we need to maintain. So I'm feeling that this is a sort of a point of solidarity among Mainers, and I'm happy to see it, and I'll be very happy when we get closer back to normal. I don't think we'll ever go back to completely normal. I think this will be with us for in one form or another for the rest of the year, probably, and even beyond that. So what that's going to take, we'll just have to see as time goes on. And I think our county government will adapt, and we'll make sure that we keep doing what we need to do. And I think most people will be doing that as well. So thank you all very much. Do we have an executive session? There's one on the agenda.
No,
No?
that's a heading only. There's no state statute to talk about this evening. So
Okay, that's what I thought. So if there's nothing further, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I hear Commissioner Watonis and Commissioner Gordon, I think, got in with a finger anyway. So, all right. All in favor may sign off, and anyone else can stick around. So.
Aye.
Bye.